All right. Welcome back to another episode of Kit Season. It is so good to be back. We took a week off, but we have returned. I say we. Brett's not here.
Brett's
But we
taking
returned.
work.
Work, cruise, whatever.
That was last
This,
week.
I mean,
This week, work.
yeah, you know, really dragging us down if we're being honest. We're trying to get numbers out here, people. But listen, we are so excited to be here. We got some fun stuff today. But before we get too deep in, we want to go ahead and thank our wonderful patrons, John Hunt, Frank Anthony, Aaron J, Christopher Cohn, Harry Austin, John Fuller, Michael Fuchs,
Fox.
and Joshua Duder. I want to thank y'all. Hey, next Friday, you are going to be getting the brand new show. For everybody else who did not check out the Patreon link and you're like, new show, check out the Patreon link. There's a little bit of a spoiler in there. And they are going to get the show like 3 days early. And it is super exciting. So check it out. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/the USL show. Fox, how you doing, man?
I'm living the life. Just
Good.
I'm loving it. McDonald's
Love
has
that.
nothing on me.
No. Now, I have a question for you.
I have an answer.
Okay. I want you to imagine you have a child. Can you do that?
I have two.
Okay, just one. I only need you to imagine you have one child.
Okay.
Okay. Child walks up to you and says, Father, I would like to be a goalkeeper. Okay. And you say, oh, where do I start? Where do I start with being a goalkeeper? Right?
Helmet.
Now, helmet. Peter Check. That's always a great place to start. You say, and you look at them and say, listen, child, would you like to learn how to be a goalkeeper from a USL champion, someone who was a champion of the biggest league in the world? Would you like to say that?
I would love to say that personally.
Well, whether you are a seasoned goalie or just starting out, the Prime Focus Goalkeeping President's Day Goalkeeper Clinic is the perfect for honing in your skills and taking your game to the next level. By the way, it's a blast. Our friend Brandon Miller, who of USL Glory, is taking over. He has his gloves. He has the goalkeeping clinic going on. And he says it himself, but he doesn't even have to say it. I'll say it for him. You should go check out the President's Day Clinic if you're around the Southeast or in the Carolinas at all, because he straight up has the best goalkeeping staff in the Carolinas. I'll even say the Southeast. Go ahead and head over to the website, www.primefocusgoalkeeping.com, and learn from a USL champion. If you want to be a part of the greatest league on earth, the biggest league in the world, this is a great way to start.
I know exactly where I'm sending my other son.
Yeah, I mean, you only need to imagine you have one child. Now, the other child now is the striker who gets to take shots at the goalkeeping child.
Okay.
You have a world-class striker and a world-class goalie. You're good.
This is just going to be Italian football at its best. 0-0 at the end. It's going to be perfect.
Well, look. Listen, we are all the way here to talk about one thing and one thing only today, and that is kits. We are here because it is kit season, although where are the kits during the kit season? But we've had some
kit season ever. But
I mean,
but the best at the same time. Just like the timing's the worst, but like I feel like everything that's been coming out has been amazing.
I mean, some of the stuff that's been
Generally
has been amazing. Yeah. And if you're wondering because you can't read the title of the show, why is Kaylor and Fox wearing both Hummel? Because we are being joined by Mark Crosby of @Hummel USA, where he has what looks like Union Omaha and the Lady Electric kits from Birmingham Legion and the scarf that says Community Through Kits. And we will get into Community Through Kits. But first off, Mark, man, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
So just first off, if people don't really know who you are, they've heard the name Hummel USA because Hummel USA is taking over
Yeah.
the biggest league in the world. But who are you and what is your role in Hummel USA?
Yeah, I am the technical design manager here. So I am putting a lot of work in getting designs onto paper and then onto fabric, and then onto players, and onto all you fans. Working with collaborators, team designers, outside designers, freelancers, all that whole list, to make these things come to life.
Me, once I sent you all of my designs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I missed that email. I'll check the spam folder.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you want any of my designs, just know that they will probably just end up being just white t-shirt FC, and that's fine.
Sure,
I might even pop a collar on there because I'm
Hey,
fancy.
well, that'd be bold. Clean.
It is a clean design.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we call
Real
it.
Madrid all over again.
Yeah, well, there's only one Real, and unfortunately, Hummel USA has not signed them yet.
Yet.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Hummel would love to be on the shirt for Real Madrid, but also there's a little bit of Hummel just saying, "Here's your white T-shirt you ordered." That would feel a little weird.
Yeah, that's not really our game.
Well, I mean, just kind of speaking about your game, just want to know, like, when you get into the design business, when you get into this whole thing that Hummel is, how did you kind of get here? Like getting into building logos, building kits, building brands, essentially. How did you get here?
Yeah, so personally, I started, far back as I can remember, with a pencil and paper, and then a little bit of MS Paint, and some sports logo website on Angel Fire or GeoCities, I'm sure, piqued my interest, and I just was off and running at that point. And I, spent years doing logo and jersey design as nothing but a hobby, just having fun with it. And slowly, quietly got into freelancing and trying to work my way, into, doing it for real, and, supporting myself through it.
Gotta pay those bills, right?
Yeah, they just keep coming, those bills. And yeah, I am from the Madison, Wisconsin area.
That explains a lot.
Found my way into the Flock, the supporters group for Forward Madison FC. A couple of years ago, worked with the Flock. I was part of the team that designed one of the supporters kits. Forward is gracious enough to let the supporters design a kit each year. And I was part of that group, the group that did the striped design with supporters' names in it. And then just last year, again, as part of the Flock, I designed last year's away jersey, the pink, the sunset and smoke jersey. That was well received. The process that we went through was a really good process with Forward, and through that connection, have found my way here with Hummel Pro North America.
And that's so cool that you actually talk about that smoke jersey, because that's literally one of our top 3 from last season.
I'd love to hear it.
So in the rating system. So you're obviously doing a great job.
I appreciate that.
And our boy Brett has that kid.
It does, yeah.
So when you're in the process, like, what is the full process of like developing a brand new kit?
Yeah. So the first step is just connecting with the club, and whether that's GM, coaches, owners, internal designers, whoever they want in the room, connecting with them and really deciding what their identity is and what they want that identity to be, and then pitching to them that at Hummel we're about community through kits, we're about storytelling. Anyone can throw on a white jersey, right? And fans will buy it because they want to support your club. But if you connect with the community, and you tell a story through your kits, then we believe that the fans appreciate that. The fans see the importance and the connection to the community, and will be all the happier to be sporting that look. So we connect with the team. We tell that story about telling stories and connecting. And from there, it's, mood boarding and choosing certain elements we want. Things like, Forward Madison has the sash. Maybe that's an element we want to carry across. Telling stories like Lady Electra, where that's something that, for a gold kit, there's not a lot specifically gold in Birmingham. So we found, some gold and told a story through it about power, about ingenuity, and about something that is uniquely Birmingham. So that sort of thing, trying to figure out what those stories are. And from there, in a bigger role, we are trying to figure out ways to connect with the community through collaborations, whether that be a pre-match jersey, an on-the-field jersey, a one-time jersey for things like Pride Month or Juneteenth, things like that. And one thing we want to make sure we do when we make those connections is collaborate with people that can speak in that voice. I'm not going to tell a Juneteenth story,
Right? Yeah.
as well as someone who has different experiences than I do. So we really want to make those connections and connecting with those clubs and getting those feelers out and saying that this jersey design process is important and it's a whole lot larger than just slapping logos on a shirt.
Yeah, especially like a template shirt, like stripes. Right. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, templates are not something we generally do, and we think every team deserves something unique and something that they want to wear. So from there, the process, we mood board. I'll come up with, or outside designers will come up with a first draft, a couple of designs. We all get together again, talk them through, figure out what we like, what we don't like. Start from the top or run with something we have. And then it's a matter of nailing down those specific designs. And then something that we've really taken a liking to and we feel is important is things that elevate the jerseys. A lot of companies can sublimate now. It's not too hard to get your hands on a sublimating process and get jerseys sewn together. So what we want to do is make sure we have things like authentic badges, like raised ink badges, all kinds of things, rubberized badges, hidden things within the collar, Easter eggs that you may not see when you buy the jersey, but then you put it on, you're like, oh, I had no idea that it said that. And you really start to learn more about it every time you look at it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Especially, actually, this specific jersey has like a little fox on the inside. Yeah. I can't take my shirt off because it's not that type of show.
Well, please don't.
But
I was given any warnings.
NC-17. But no, it has all sorts of cool stuff like on the inside, typically where it's just like a tag. It's all sorts of sweet stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we know that people are paying for these jerseys, and we want them to feel like they got their money's worth, right? We know that they can be expensive compared to a T-shirt, but if you're here to support your club should be giving something that you feel is worth it.
Yeah, I want to just go ahead hop on what Julian asked here. What's your favorite Hummel kit in the USL Championship? Or we can broadly go to just the USL in general. Or if you want to hit, different ones, because I know you guys are all across League One, League Two, W League, Championship. You're everywhere.
Can we say no Forward Madison?
We can say no Forward Madison. That works for me. Yeah.
Biases aside, unless it truly is your favorite.
No, I that would be some homerism. So I'll skip the Forward Madison. My favorite child is always the most recent one. So at the moment, the Lady Electra. Honestly, I'm super happy with the way that turned out and the way it's been received. And working with Birmingham, this is our first year working with Birmingham. And it's been great. I think y'all are going to see some more fantastic stuff from them as we move along. I can't tell you any more than that at the moment. But no, right now, this is the first kit that we've had widely released since I've worked here. So right now, that's my favorite.
I kind of want to know, and I want to kind of go back to something that you kind of talked on earlier of doing the research, finding about what is gold in Birmingham, what is admittedly a dirty, grungy industrial city, right? I mean, it is. It's a steel city that's what it was built on.
And you don't want to do
And
yellow and black. That's been done.
I mean, yeah, so when you're finding the gold around Birmingham and you stumble across Lady Electra, it's always super exciting for people in Birmingham to be like, oh, that's my stuff. And same thing for every other club in the USL and across the world of being like, that's my city, that's my city.
Yeah.
When you're going through that research process, how much time goes there into research? Is it hey, I found this really cool idea and I am going to like I don't want to say word vomit, but like design vomit, like make something right now while I have inspiration? Or is it like, hey, reel myself in, let's see the options and then put energy into it?
Yeah, I appreciate your use of design vomit. That's something that I definitely do. The the come across something or wake up in the middle of the night and just have an idea. I've got to put it down or I lose it. So in some way or another, whether it's a sketch or hop into Illustrator real quick, when something comes, I like to run. I think generally speaking, I as a designer prefer to trust my gut when it comes to a design, and I think more often than not when working with clubs, the sort of the first draft is generally something we always circle back to in some way. I think there's something to be said for just the first thing that jumps out to you is worth pursuing. In terms of the research and how much time goes into that, I wish more. I was a history major in college. No schooling for graphic design. I'm all self-taught there, but as a history major, it's my favorite part. And I truly think it's the research and the anthropology of kits is at least as important as the actual design itself. You don't get the design without the research. And if you do, it doesn't have as much meaning. It's my favorite part of the process, really delving deeply into it. And I couldn't be more grateful to be at a place like Hummel, who also values that.
Nice. Yeah, I actually appreciate the history major part of that.
Hey.
But actually, I mean, this is going to be a good segue, right? Speaking of history,
what
would you say the history of Hummel is there?
Yeah. So Hummel as a whole, celebrating its 100th year last year, which is awesome. Hummel has been a staple, right? They were first football boots. They were a German company, then purchased by a group in Denmark. They're in Denmark now. They've always been sort of on the leading edge of the storytelling, the community through kits, the things that we came in as Hummel North America really wanted to do. It's a decent idea, Brett. I don't hate that. A series on the history of kits. And I think the thing that stands out most with Hummel and why I absolutely love working with them is their history is dotted with moments where they took a stance, whether it be the Denmark kits, the most recent World Cup, Pride kits, things like that, where they're putting their money where their mouth is, and yeah, it's not something you see from apparel designers very often.
Right. It's a risky business sometimes.
It is, yeah, and I think without taking those risks,
there's no reward, and it doesn't change.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these social stances are at least as important as putting jerseys out. Putting jerseys out is great. It's a lot of fun, and I get to do cool stuff, but that doesn't mean a whole lot unless we're also doing work in social stances, things like that. And we've got some fun projects coming up that we're looking to pitch to all of our USL clubs, possibly extending outside of USL clubs that kind of go down that line. And so hopefully you'll get to see some of those this year.
Nice.
I want to jump in and before we hit FSSDCU's question, when you talk about the social side of this, right? You guys have taken on a pretty forefront stance, and it's been great, right? Is there ever, I don't want to say fear, but I mean, is there ever fear in releasing it and being like, did we maybe misread the room, or is it like oh gosh, like what is the backlash going to be? How hard is it going to be? Or is it easier just to say, hey, everybody in this room, we're all on the same page, and as long as we're on the same page, that's all we got?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think first of all, we have a fantastic team here, and the team in Denmark is obviously amazing. And I think there's a lot of trust that we all align really well in terms of social issues. And on top of that, I think we avoid those fears and worry about overstepping or not representing something accurately by working towards these collaboration pieces and working with people, as I mentioned, who have a voice that we may not necessarily speak in. So I think that's been one of the tools that we use to make sure that we're accurately representing the social issues instead of just being a token piece.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hit FSS DCU's question, and then Fox will hit the next one. Is there just I'm just going to just kind of expand this, just a dream club that you would just love to do this for? You've already got your Ford Madison, I get it, but like I don't know if I don't remember if it was on air or off air, but we already talked about, hey, you could just make white t-shirt for Real Madrid. You could do that. But is there a club that you see their colors, or just one that you grew up watching that you're like, man, I want to make their kit?
Yeah. I'll go outside of North America here, so that we don't have any business dealings. Dream kit for me. I'm gonna go with Hearts in Edinburgh, Heart of Midlothian. Absolutely love the colors, love the club. It would be amazing. I think there's a lot of stories to tell there. It's obviously an incredibly historic club. And yeah, it would be a dream for me. I absolutely love their most recent release by Umbro. And yeah, would love to do something with them someday.
That would be sick.
Hearts, glorious hearts. Would love it. Yeah. But then, plus, I'd hope to get a trip back to Edinburgh out of it, and there are very few places in the world that I love more.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that, but I'm assuming you travel a lot, right?
Yeah, we haven't just starting out, this being the first year of our small little Hummel Pro North America, as a whole group, haven't done a ton of travel. I think we'd like to. The old boots on the ground is the best way to really learn a city, learn a team, learn a people, that sort of thing. So, someday, if we continue on this trajectory and have a budget, hopefully we'll invest in that Hummel Cessna and really start making moves.
But that wasn't even the original question. But you kind of answered through some of these. But like, what designs or designers do you appreciate or get like influence from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know that there's any specific designers that I could name. Our group has a number of people within it that are like, finger on the pulse of soccer design, and we have even more people that are finger on the pulse of just apparel design. We have folks that came from every direction of apparel. So really just trying to see what's happening and figure out what the next step ahead of that is, the next innovation is. When it comes to like specific designs that I love, yeah, it's tough. Generally speaking, I'm looking at something and thinking, man, like I want to wear that. And when I'm designing, that's how I'm designing too. If I'm not going to wear it, I don't know if we should put it on the field. So yeah, I don't think there's any specific names. I'm a fan of Baroque art, and that was having a brief moment here in soccer, especially in Italy. But it's small, and there's things we can do with that. But my personal preference for art does not always translate to kit design. I think it's more just having an eye for what works, what doesn't, that sort of thing.
That's always so funny to me because I teach music for a living, right? And we're talking about Baroque and we talk about the Romantics and stuff like that. Like that's also music art went through the same time periods around the same time, and I always tried to like shoehorn my personal like I love this, and I give it to my kids. I'm like, we're going to learn this, and they're like, this is stupid and boring, and I hate you. And it's like, oh, all right.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Aren't you middle school too?
Oh, dude, I'm K3 through 12th grade.
Oh, okay, Jay. Yeah,
I teach 3-year-olds through 18-year-olds. I go from teaching little kids. I'm like, here's a maraca. Don't stop eating it.
Out of your mouth.
And then and then 5 minutes later, I go into a classroom and here's an 18-year-old, and I'm like, and I'm also
don't eat the maraca.
Out of your mouth, stop. No, same conversation. I want to hit a couple questions from the chat, and we're going to hit a couple more that we kind of talked about before. Hummel, we talked about Denmark a lot. We've done, they've been doing the Danish kits for a long time, but when you're talking about national team kits, there's some kits like you have the Danish team, you have your you have like your English kits, right? You have a lot of these teams that have been around just as long as Hummel, if not longer, who have been wearing the same general kit for a long, long time. The U.S. men's national team obviously been around a long time, but through ebbs and flows of embracing soccer culture, I suppose, it didn't build up the same tradition. Whenever you're trying to make a national kit, how hard is that just kind of put your mind around? Because if you try to tell the story of America, you end up accidentally telling just the story of a region, or leaving out a group. Is there a reason why most of them end up bland, or is there a way to do it?
Yeah, I think there's, I think first of all, with the frequency of new kits these days, annual releases of kits, I think we'll start to see more unique national kits because different stories can be told. Every kit may not need to represent an entire nation, an entire history. And I think that is a benefit of lots of released kits. There are downfalls to lots of kits, but I think that is one benefit. I think
there's no downfalls.
I think with
my wallet disagrees.
My workload, my sleep schedule, those would be about the only downfalls. I would say national kits are tough because national teams, more than even some of the most historic, pro clubs, have a tendency to latch on to some piece of that identity, whether it's a sash or a blue kit instead of a kit from your nation's colors, or orange for the Netherlands, or whatever design piece it is. We talked about it briefly with things like a sash for forward and things of that nature. But I think that national teams truly latch onto those things, and I think it's a good thing. I think you should be able to take the badge off of a national team kit and know exactly who it is. And so designing with those things in mind and still being innovative can be really challenging. But again, I think with opportunities to do more kits and try new things, we see more teams taking risks.
Yeah, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
So going back to like a typical club sponsor, because usually national teams don't have sponsors.
Yep.
This is a make or break thing for me with a lot of kits. Is a good sponsor? Does it fit with the kit and stuff?
Yeah.
Are there reasons why some kids, like, do they like not allow you to play with their sponsor? Like it has to be a Toyota with a red freaking box. Sorry, I'm a Louisville fan. I get bitter. But, or like, do some of them allow you to, play with it?
Yeah, for sure. Most brands have a brand standard and require their logos to be in certain colors or on certain backgrounds or have certain treatments. Don't put an outline around it, put a box around it, that sort of thing. You've seen it all over the place. Tottenham is still sporting a bright red AIA on on their lily white kit, and I couldn't be more perturbed by it. But that's a sponsor requirement, and it's something that they signed in when they signed a contract with AIA. So when the clubs work with these sponsors, first thing we ask when we get assets from a club, be their team logos, their sponsor logos, things like that, is for a brand standard from their sponsor logos, as well as if they've had a conversation with their sponsors about changing colors and what we can do in that regard. I would love for every kit for the first thing you see to be the design and the team badge and not the sponsors. Yep. But that's not always the case. And we fully understand that sponsors are a life support for soccer clubs, especially in lower league USA.
Soccer clubs in
the largest league in the world.
That's right.
The USL.
Never forget.
Yes. Apologies. So yeah, we're very mindful and respectful of sponsors. And at the same time, when we get a bright red sponsor that goes on a black kit, and red's not a team color, we design around that and we work it out so that it makes sense.
Say Birmingham.
And isn't distracting. I think it's just part of it. It's part of the soccer culture at this point. It's worldwide, and now it's going into other sports. So they get to figure it out next.
They get the little bitty NBA.
Yeah, they're still doing little ones, but they'll eventually. I think
it'll become a thing.
I am one of the people. I feel like I'm a weird kit sicko in the sense I do like the more basic toned down design, but when I see one of the Brazilian kits that have 17 sponsors on it, I want it so bad.
Yeah,
I want it so badly.
I gotta tell you, I don't hate it.
Liga MX.
I don't hate it. I think it's Liga MX is famous for being just sponsors. The Scandinavian clubs, it's mostly sponsored. I don't even think they have kit design any longer.
Do they even have a club logo on there?
It's getting smaller. Yeah, I mean, there are parts of me that love a sponsor logo, especially as sponsor logos tend to change through an era. So you can see a kit, and first thing you see is sponsor, you know what era that kit came from. And I don't hate that. I think it's fine. And again, with sponsors being a life support for clubs, it is an important piece and something that we work to support instead of work around.
So, a question from chat from Julian again. What's the best part of your job, A? And what is the hardest part of your job? Take it whichever order you would like.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with the best first. There's very little more rewarding than seeing people like something you did, or something that you worked with a club to do, or worked with a collaborator to do, and to see your team succeed with another team and with a team of people. Y'all have done group projects. I don't know if you're still doing group projects in your music class, but knock it off. Group projects are hard, and we're doing really well with working with these clubs. We put these designs onto paper and onto the wall, and but that doesn't come from us. That's working hard with these teams and with other collaborators, and seeing that all come to fruition is just the best part of it. I couldn't be happier. I can't tell you how many times I refreshed Legion Twitter on Saturday just to see people enjoying what we put out and to see Legion have success in that small way.
Yeah, appreciate the likes and the retweets and all that good stuff.
Hey, yeah, just go like, retweet, do all of it, and know that I'm watching. And the worst part, I mean, man, this is my dream job. It's tough to pick something that is the worst part. Probably just the minutia of Illustrator and getting everything perfect and then sending it off for a final design. That's the worst part. I'll say that. Sending off, saying final design done, print it, as what some would call an artist, letting that go is super difficult for me. I could work on something for years and still find something to tinker with. So yeah, I would say letting that baby bird fly is just difficult and not something I love.
Yeah, that's, I can imagine, like, especially when you've been working on this, baby bird, this whole time, you kind of get attached to it. Then
Yeah.
And now you're just ready for the judge of society to
Right.
rain down on you.
Right. Are we getting the executioner's axe, or are we gonna let this bird fly? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's always one of those things like, I thought Hummel was supposed to be blank, and it's like, we are. You're just not looking at it right. Like,
Yeah,
do you not see this detail?
I've done my very best to not respond to positive or negative on social media, despite my refreshing of the page. I believe what we put out explains itself, and more than responding directly to criticism or compliments, I think we at Hummel and the teams that we work with are filing those things away. We're taking note when we see a lot of fans say like, I don't know about this. This is not something we're big fans of. Great, now we know that. And I don't get into any fights on Twitter. So positives all around.
I don't either anymore.
Sorry, on X, not Twitter. That's my bad.
If you put in twitter.com,
so I was on my MySpace the other day, and
you and Tom, I think, are the only ones left.
Yeah, my buddy Tom just chilling.
Tom, I think.
Yeah, I'm his
Tom Costume.
I'm his number one. I'm still his number one. No one can say that.
Very exciting. Still updating your 5 songs on MySpace that really represent how you're feeling today.
It's just a lot of Nickelback.
It's Creed and Nickelback. It's fighting for that top spot.
Oh, goodness. So when it comes to working with different leagues, have you noticed there's some leagues that go for it, and then other leagues or anything like that are maybe more professional and won't let you play as much, or is it just purely team by team?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely a trend towards the lower on the pyramid a club is, the more risks they're willing to take, because they know it gets them seen on socials and things like that. And as you move up towards USL Championship, things like that, teams are a little more conservative. I wouldn't say that they don't let us do something. It's probably more to the fact that they just haven't done it before, and whether that's because a previous kit provider didn't allow for that, or they just didn't have anyone saying this isn't a risk, this is an opportunity.
Ouch.
All right, Michael, the History Channel should be airing a special on MySpace any day now.
Oh, goodness.
I think we're to that era. We're to the Cold War, and MySpace should be next.
Unironically, I decided to sign in to MySpace 3 years ago, and they had an integrated GIF maker and that's all you could use it for. Nothing else worked besides being able to make GIFs. I remember it didn't work.
MySpace being full of the original GIFs, which were just a cursive word with sparkles. That was a whole.
It was word art.
That was a phase of art, which is interesting. But yeah, in terms of back to the original question, where we get more
Mike.
On MySpace. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's that clubs further up the pyramid don't let us do something or don't take those risks. I think it's a matter of not having done them before, wanting to do them while still remaining very professional, and figuring out just how to do that. So yeah, I think you'll see more and more interesting things as soccer continues to expand in popularity, and as teams fight to have eyes on. There's only so many ways to do that other than winning. So we think we're a big piece in getting your club seen and recognized as someone who not only looks good, but looks good for a reason.
I mean, one of the things that really stands out to me with Hummel, and I will also admit to, this is something that I notice a lot when you're talking to a kit provider that isn't one of the, I'll just say like big two between your Nikes and your Adidas, right? They are so affordable for it to be a quality kit, and it's a wonderful design. It's similar, if not better material than what you'll buy for like $10 to $40 cheaper. Obviously I don't think you're a part of the finance committee. Maybe you are. If you are, I don't
I
know.
avoid that. I sit in the same
Yeah.
office, so
Yeah. But when you're kind of looking at making something cost efficient while being something that you want to see people wearing around, right? Because a part of making someone's brand noticeable is by making it fashionable. And balancing money and making it nice while not breaking a budget while still appealing to somebody. How hard is that?
Yeah, it's difficult, and we do our best to keep things priced in such a way that clubs can determine a price that is still going to be affordable for their fans. We have worked really hard on finding different fabrics this season, especially that not only will be better for the players, especially with some of the clubs in the South that we've been working with that are going to be playing some real warm games this summer. But for the fans too, right? If you buy a jersey and it feels like something you could have picked up at Walmart, you're not going to spend as much as if it's a fabric that you feel like, oh man, the pros are wearing this. So though the price points may, be high to buy a jersey, and still with Hummel, again, working hard to keep those lower than some of the other groups. We really want to make sure that when you're holding a jersey, you feel it's worth what that price tag says. And that's where things like fabric, these add-ons, like authentic badges, raised ink, embossing, all kinds of things. And as we go through, part of what we do is just search for new innovations, whatever it might be. We're all over the map when it comes to trying to innovate. So, just today I was trying to figure out how to put LEDs in a jersey, but we're not there yet.
There we go.
But like,
you can start making the MySpace gifts.
There
on
it
the
is.
Jersey.
There it is.
Love.
Full circle.
Cutie.
We did it. Cutie. It was cutie, I think, a lot. It was a lot of cutie. But yeah, we're trying to make it again so that, if you feel it's expensive, it better be worth it. So those embellishments, whatever they may be, those innovations, we want the teams, the players, the supporters, everyone to feel that it's worth it.
And honestly, I appreciate that as a fan too, because I have a couple like kind of lower league teams. Like I have an Asheville jersey.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like the whole thing is simulated, but like I'm assuming that's what the team wanted as well. But it keeps the price point low for the fans. So like it's so affordable for me to be able to just kind of pick it up. And like I don't necessarily have to, like, this has the stitching and this has the physical badge. This is actually like a cloth patch. So like I like this stuff, but like I expect this from the Bundesliga.
Right.
I don't necessarily expect it from USL League 2.
And that's the whole process we go through with each club when it comes to embellishments. Obviously we're telling them, what that brings price points to, and then trying to find that balance. And a USL 2 club may have a completely different balance than USL Championship, or they may be the same. There are different value points for every club that we work with. So yeah, just finding that balance is key for us to making things affordable. Sorry, that's our office furnace. A little loud. My apologies. It's done now.
Take one, please. Um, yeah, let me tell you, you brought up the Asheville City, and okay, there is nothing. My wife lived outside of Asheville, probably about 45 minutes away from Asheville. And the bright red Ingles logo is just burned into my brain. I love Asheville City's stuff. I love what they do. They had just all the stuff they do is just fantastic. But we've have Julian who's talking about the Charleston Battery kits. Last year's away kits with the black trimming on it of just like I think it was the fencing, right? Like the metal fencing that's around.
Yeah, within the stripe, correct.
If you've been to Charleston, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I showed it to my wife. Yeah. I showed it to my wife. She was like, "Oh, that's Charleston." She didn't even see the badge. She knew because she recognized it. And it was just one of those things that I was just like, man, that is just such good design that someone could tell what city it is without reading it.
Yep.
And to me, that's just the sign of a really well-made kit.
Charleston puts out some fantastic kits. They when working with that club in particular, they have a lot of internal design that we then collaborate on, which is a great process. They've been fantastic. And I think you all will like some of the stuff they'll be putting out soon.
Love that. Absolutely love that.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah. So when I get it, we're the USL show and we stick with the USL, but there's other teams, around the lower league sphere that you guys work with that are really exciting in terms of what their brand looks like. Like you guys have been with Flower City. You guys have been with, Minnesota Aurora, who is in W League. You guys are working now with Carolina Core, and I get it. Boo hiss, MLS Next Pro, blah, whatever. But in the end, like those are fun badges. They are fun colors that you get to work with. When you see teams with fun badge colors, is it just like does it become like design overload, like I am just so excited, or does it become like whoa, I don't even know where to take this?
I think more than seeing the badge and wanting to do something with that design specifically, it's seeing that a club cares for their identity and hasn't put clip art on a crest and moved on. We curate clubs we work with just as much as we're out there trying to get clubs to sign with us. We want to make sure clubs are in this for the right things and care about what's going on their kits each year and care about what their fans are purchasing. So yeah, I think. I mean, obviously, I see a great design. I'm like, oh yeah, we can do some cool stuff with this. But more than anything, it's seeing a club put that effort in, and knowing that effort, will continue through kits.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Because sorry to interrupt, Kaylor, but I was going to say, like, anytime I see a sweet badge, I'm like, oh, they give a crap.
Yeah.
So if they have the badge already, like, whoever their kit producer is going to be should have a good time with this.
Right.
So it's nice to see when a team, gives a crap.
It is. Yep. And, we're seeing teams pop up left and right. USL 2, I think, announced 48 new teams today or something. Slight exaggeration, maybe.
Give or take.
Every single day.
But like you see these things and you're like, oh man, that's fun. Let's get on the phone and see if they're interested.
Coachella. Do you have Coachella?
I can't speak to Coachella today. Again, I'm in my little corner on Illustrator. So when it comes to the pitches, I leave that to the others.
There was a real moment for me when I saw Coachella pop up, and we had a conversation in our Discord where it was like, "That's a real place." Oh my god, it's a real place.
Yeah, I had a moment of that too. We talked internally about starting, an electric forest or maybe a fire festival.
There we go, Fire Festival,
Firefest FC. I mean, that's how could it go wrong?
Defeaters.
Oh,
But
that
yeah,
one gets me.
it's fun seeing these clubs pop up, and we know, having worked with so many clubs now, that running a soccer club is not easy, and it's not cheap. And we want to do everything we can in our partnership to be there for the club, to work with the club, work with the club's collaborators, and help them get somewhere where they're not losing money. They're they're on the other side of that. So that it's important to us. We know it's hard out there.
You're a Ford Madison person based out of Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm going to ask this, and I don't mean the exact rivalry, but I'm speaking more to the general idea of derbies, right?
Yeah.
Madison has one of the coolest and most unique derbies in the world with the Henny Derby between Richmond
Yep.
and Ford Madison
Yep.
themselves. Has there ever been a moment, or just kind of pitching to a team, not necessarily Ford Madison and whatnot, but of saying, hey, what about a one-off derby kit? Like saying, like, make the occasion even more special with a special kit. Maybe not exactly that one, but has that been conversations that you've had with teams before?
Yeah, I wouldn't say specifically that one, but we have talked about more specific, event-based kits, one-offs, things like that. You run the risk of being called, Kid FC when you put out a bunch of kits every year. But if they're good kits, that name calling is coming from the other side of the derby. And everyone else is wearing the jersey. So we're all about one-offs, special events. Especially when it comes to pre-match, we think that's a great opportunity to really sort of spread your wings, and it's a good way for clubs to feel out, what doing something a little more out there feels like and how that's received. But yeah, I mean, a derby kit, I love it, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there, especially if Hummel finds its way into being on both sides of a derby.
Oh, that'd be cool.
the old Mac from Always Sunny. I'm playing both sides, so I come out on top. But yeah, I think there's a lot of fun you can have there, and I think the derbies in USL are just that. They're a lot of fun. The Henny Derby is amazing. It's two amazing supporter groups that really take center stage over the teams, I think, in that derby.
Yeah.
I have two more questions, unless there's a follow-up to an answer, of course. First comes from Orange and Black Soccer Cast, our friends out in Irvine,
Yes.
California. That one always confuses me. I always get scared before I say it. How do you feel about sublaminated crest versus ironed-on crest?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit earlier in terms of cost. I think there's a time for both sublimated and for iron-on or 3D print or rubberized. There's dozens of ways to put a badge on these days. My personal preference, if I'm wearing a kit and I've spent the money on it, give me a badge. Give me a badge I can feel on my chest and isn't just sublimated. But at the same time, I love seeing a detailed crest fully sublimated and being represented as it is for a club that doesn't have the cash to shell out on rubberized or raised badges of some sort. Stitched is it's amazing. I think it's great. I think it works well with especially classic badges when legibility may not be as key. I have an old Hearts jersey that you can barely tell what that badge says, but you know what it is. But yeah, things like that are really case by case. Yeah.
So I've been trying to do what I can to keep up with who Hummel is with and whatnot. And last time I checked, I don't think you guys are with anybody who is going to be in USL Super League. I know you have several W League, but I don't think you have any Super League teams. But that is going to be running on the European schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about working with teams in the South and making sure they don't die from a heat stroke. When you're looking at playing in this European schedule and having to deal with the cold, right? How does that change your job, both in finding materials to keep people from freezing and also just like, finding ways to have kits stand out, say, in the snow if it's in the middle of the winter? How do you balance all that?
Everybody gets orange.
Right. Yeah, we're doing just parkas on the pitch. That's what we're calling it. Parkas on the pitch. In team colors.
That's my new brand.
And it's going to be fur hoods. And that's it. That's the plan. No, a lot of what we do, everyone sees this layer. They're seeing this, but a lot of what we do is making sure that sub layers are really what the team needs, and specifically that the colors match. I might change my previous answer about the hardest part, and getting colors to match across different fabrics and things is a slog, and it's something that we take super seriously and want to make sure that we nail down. And I think part of that and putting that effort in, when it comes to the winter, where it's gonna be even bigger than it is now, because those sub layers stick out even further when they're long sleeve. Obviously we can do kits in long sleeves, all of that. So that's all part of it. I'm excited for the Super League. I can't speak to whether or not we have signed or are speaking with any Super League teams, but it's an exciting prospect. I'm excited for it to come, especially here in Madison, where I'm at. I'll be a fan first.
Is it cold in there?
It gets a little chilly. You heard it's actually warm today. But you heard the furnace for a moment there, we're having a heat wave at the moment. So.
Yeah, I'm just south of you, down in Missouri, and it's 60 degrees. It was a fantastic day.
I think we had 40 today, and there were t-shirts abound. So yeah, that's part of it too. I think the fans will deal with the winter differently than some of the players that may be coming from, say, Central America. Winter feels a bit different here. So some of the USL players are starting to report. USL 1 players are reporting, and every year there's always some weather shock for the players when they get off the plane. So we try to make sure they get some cheese curds to stay warm.
Oh man, that reminds me. From where my friend lives in Minneapolis, there is a Packers bar, like a block away from his house or from his apartment, and they sell the best cheese curds I've ever had in my life. Every now and then I just think about them.
As a Wisconsinite, I'm always thinking about cheese curds a little bit. So that never goes away.
Well, unless Fox, you have any more questions, Mark, do you have anything that you want to explicitly just kind of talk about with designs or anything possibly in the works? No, obviously no.
Yeah, we've got a lot of releases coming up real quick here. So, keep an eye on everything. Spotted Cow cannot be, those state lines are very specific on Spotted Cow. No, we've got a lot of really fun stuff coming out that I think a lot of people are going to really like. I can't speak to many of them as they haven't been released. But yeah, in terms of, just general poking and prodding, what, I guess, you guys running this kit podcast, what do you want to see from a kit? Like, what's an innovation that, a piece that you feel elevates or would be new or should be brought back, whatever it might be?
I mean, everything that I love about kids is what you all do already, in a sense. One thing that we always make sure is when we're judging a kit is one of the sections is community. Like, does it match the badge or does it match the community? And I can think of one that didn't come through well for Hummel, but otherwise, like 99% is always yes. And then the other thing is always creativity. 99% is always yes. So like, I don't know. I mean, I really like this kid specifically with the reflective coloring, but tall collars. There we go.
Look, as a fan, I'll put on a tall collar any day. But we also have to make sure the players want to wear it. And I can tell you, many players don't love a tall collar.
How do players feel about collars in general? Because we've had this Discord conversation.
Yeah, and collars is tricky. I think on the right kit, they look great. On the wrong kit, they're atrocious. And I think it's a difficult line to toe with players. Generally, want just the smallest jersey they can wear. With nothing bothering them. Honestly, I think, players when they're, between the lines probably want a fully sublimated kit, nothing but mesh, white if it's hot out. But at the same time, players want to be proud of what they're wearing.
Yeah.
So that's a balance we've got to hit. And then, we look at sales figures too. We're candid with teams when we say we think collars sell to a specific group of people, but may not be a winner overall. Yeah, I mean, I think a kit nerd is going to buy a collar, but I think you see that a general populace may not. Unless it hits, unless it's something that is a complement to the design. Maybe a faux back is a perfect place to put a collar, something like that. But yeah, it's I love a collar. I don't know about an Elvis collar. I'm worried that if I put the Elvis collar on, I'll have to hire a voice coach to lose the accent. But yeah, it's fun things like that. The deeper the V, the better. Yeah, I mean, Pele did it.
Extra capital V.
I love a long sleeve goalkeeper jersey. Again, I think
that's where I was.
We see more goalkeepers preferring short sleeve. Maybe the Super League starts to change that a little bit because of weather. I'm a sucker for tradition when it comes to a goalkeeper. It should be loud. It should be long sleeved. But again, we're working with teams and with players and with coaches and with design trends and are mindful of those things.
So when you talk about what we would like to see, long sleeve GK jerseys, don't get me wrong, I do love me a short sleeve. Like I loved the Greenville Triumph, and I know that was the Palmetto. I loved that. The Selnods community cultures and unexpected places are great. The biggest thing that I always look for in a kit is I love continuity and stuff. Like you talk about people grow attached to the sash, right? Mm-hmm. This is me. This is my personal thing. I'm a Birmingham Legion fan. I talk about that a good bit on the show, maybe too much.
That's why he loves red kits.
I hate the red kits. If the 3 sparks aren't on it, I don't buy it. I have every single kit that the 3 sparks are on, and there are 1 or 2 that don't have the 3 sparks on it, and I don't own them.
Yeah,
because it has to have the 3 sparks. And for me, it's knowing the continuity. Like, yes, the Lady Electra has the 3 sparks. You have the Union Omaha. If there's the Volt on it, I love when there's continuity with Volts, like the colors or any team. If they have a continuous piece that always shows up,
yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
That is what I want from. I want to see a piece come back from every single team. So like you said, if you rip the badge off, I can tell you which team it is. That's what I always look for in a kit.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. We want to see kits that the fans recognize as their own and can recognize it, if they cover this part up. I think, even more broadly speaking, especially with Hummel's 100th year last year, we saw the Hummel brand really bring elements across their clubs, especially in Europe. We saw the Denmark half and half everywhere, right? And where that may not have been a team element for those teams, a brand element was important as well. There's a history to Hummel. There's a history to the things that they've fought for and stood for, and being able to bring those pieces to clubs, not just in a way that is highlighting Hummel because go Hummel. We're this badge is more important than this badge. It's because we want those teams to feel the history of Hummel and be a part of this group. It's a partnership. There's a back and forth, and those things are important to us. So really working with those teams, bringing them into the fold and making them feel like, hey, you're part of something large now. And it's not just us slapping a logo on there. It's really bringing you into the fold.
Beautiful, man. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to really go over. But it's been a blast. I have learned a whole lot over just kind of the kit design and just kind of Hummel itself. Like I knew a lot about Hummel because I did research before this, and whenever we talked to Kuba, I was trying to learn as much as I can. But like, there's so much in there that hearing it said versus just seeing it read is just so much different. And then I walk away from this with a whole different perspective on just like kit design and like standing for something and not just wearing something. It's been a fun chat, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. I think as a takeaway, standing for something is one of the big ones. That and that, we are working on these designs with clubs, not for clubs. Many of the times, clubs are leading it 100%. All of the time, we are letting the clubs lead that, and making sure that they're the voice that comes out in these kits.
Yeah, and that's what needs to be done. It's not just okay, here's page 4, you can select one of these.
Yeah. I mean, I can make a million cool patterns, but if that pattern doesn't mean something to your club, it's a template. And it's how I like to design, and I think how Hummel wants to operate.
Love it. Well, hey, listen to everybody who watched along. We had a whole lot of fun. For the first time, by the way, we are streaming this to the Protagonist YouTube account. So if you are joining us from Protagonist and was like, I've never seen this before, I should have mentioned this more than an hour and 7 minutes in, but hi.
Welcome. We're done.
But yeah, it's been an absolute blast. Again, we want to thank our patrons. Again, next week, the brand new show is coming out. We are so excited for it. And again, big thank you to Prime Focus Goalkeeping. Hey, if you want to learn from a champion of the biggest league in the world and you're in the Carolinas, this is the guy, Brandon Miller. Go to www.primefocusgoalkeeping.com. And while you're at it, while you're on the old, internet trying to search some things up, how about you check out at Hummel USA on the x/twitter.com 280 character bird app, and
Instagram as well. Jump on there.
Instagram as well. Check out all the.
I don't know if our MySpace is active, but you can try.
I mean,
you can make sure.
Hummel might be my. I would say that I will make Hummel my number 1, but me and Tom have something special, and more not.
My wife would be mad. It's one of those.
Well, listen, we appreciate you, Mark, and we appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you so much, and check out Orange and Black.
Hey, maybe a trip to Orange County is on the books. I missed the recent convention out in Anaheim, so maybe I can book
make it.
Orange County.
And you must be popular because they never invited me to nothing.
I'm pretty sure that Soccercast here is inviting me to try to get a leak.
Right.
No, he would never. He wouldn't do that.
But while you're here, here's my design book.
Hey, we'll always take a fan's design book. That's gold.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. This has been a ton of fun. Next 2 weeks, we have 2 other kit designers coming on. This is the first of our 3-week kind of series on designers,
boom,
and
boom.
nowhere else we would rather start than at Hummel USA with Mark Crosby. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you all. Great being here.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
And we appreciate you all so much for listening. And until next time, guys, it has been the USL show presenting Kit Season. See you guys hopefully next week.